Hello, Sisters in Service. This is Kat Corchado, and we are continuing today with my interview with Jane Babcock. In part 2, she's going to be talking about women's services, the transition between veteran and military spouses, how to find your VSO, and the difference between a VSO Claims representative and a VSO rep. So stay tuned. I hope you learned as much as I did. So Let's change course for a second. Let's talk about women. So when I first got out, most of the people that went to the VA were men. And some of the women getting out now, maybe even prior, were just very reluctant to go to the VA because they had very few women's services, as I've been told. Has that improved? Do they have more women's services available now than what they used to have?
Yes, immensely. Women can go for all the prenatal care. They can even deliver their baby at a VA hospital.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
We can have our children there. They will do all of our follow-on care. They will do the initial baby exams and stuff like that for the baby. God forbid the baby's early and needs to be in an incubator for a while and stuff like that. If they don't have those things right then and there at that particular VA hospital, they'll put you in the civilian hospital. They may, if you're a high-risk pregnancy, they may say, look, we can't. Maybe you're a multiple birth or something like that, triplets.
Right.
Nope. Here's your permission slip. Go to the hospital down the road. I just recently had to have a mammogram. They said, here's your permission slip, go to the hospital down the road, because they didn't have the equipment.
Now, I do know that certain VA centers have, there's a women's center in Boston. They have this huge center just for women that's part of the VA. And I was like, why don't they have that at every VA? Is it money? Is it need? What do you think is holding it back for women? That some of these VAs don't have them and very few do.
Yeah, it's numbers. It really is.
Yeah.
And in 1975, at the end of Vietnam, we had over 31 million veterans. Now we have 2/3 of that, less than 2/3 of that. Because we're not sending thousands and thousands and thousands of troops. We're sending the same troop thousands of times.
There you go.
Yes. So, and like my father, he went over to World War II and he didn't come home. He didn't take breaks. He fought until he fought. And then when the war ended, he sat on a beach or a dock in a warehouse for almost 3 months, waiting to get a berthing space on his ship to come home. You didn't have the same type of mental terror of going over, getting up to 100 miles an hour on your sense of orientation in the country and your ability to hear the enemy.
Right.
And then come home, walk into the house, go, the king is back. And the wife is going, honey, you're not the king anymore.
Right.
Sit down. The queen's in charge. I know the budget. I know what groceries you need. I know when the kids have to go to soccer practice. And you just follow my direction. Well, after a couple of weeks, the guys come down from that intense high. And then all of a sudden they're ripped right back out of the arms of those who love them. And they have all the guilt that goes along with, telling little Johnny that they have to leave again.
Right.
And they go back overseas and they're not quite at that same speed limit that the guys are that are there. And maybe they don't hear something or they step on something and, so their injury rate might be a little higher again. And then they come home again and they go through that whole process. And this time she's got to learn to let go of some of what he needs to have. But at the same time, maybe he's coming home and going, you know what? It's nice having her take care of it. I'll just let her keep doing that.
Right.
So she's doing everything, daycare, family care, and running all the kids and maybe working full time. And
because that's what she's used to doing or he's used to doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of transition stuff that goes along with that. Even with 20 years of service, you come back to the civilian world, it's different. Is she going to work? Is she going to work full time? Who's going to take care of daycare? Who's going to, is there a before or after school program for your kids to be at while you're still at the office and she's at the office? So we went through that 1 year for 3 years. I worked part-time when I was in the reserves. I worked part-time so I could drop the kids off at school and pick them up after school. I would have earned less money than what it would have cost for the before and after program.
Oh, right. It's definitely a dance. You're trying to juggle so many things. I was in a MilSpouse room on Clubhouse, and they were talking about how the transition is for military spouses. So we always talk about veteran transition and how hard it is, but then we don't, as veterans, we don't think of how hard it is or can be for the military spouses. And I was telling them that I saw it from my mother's point of view, only because my dad went to Vietnam and my mother had to hold down the fort. And I just remember my mother did not drive until my father went to Vietnam. He taught her how to drive in like 3 months. So the military spouses are going through almost the same thing, but on a different level, but equal to what the veteran is going through, but in their world, in the military spouse world, and then you have the veteran world, but they're equal, but they're different at the same time. So it's hard, So going back to the VA benefits, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 things that someone should do as they're transitioning out of the military? So let's say I have a year left in the service. What are the top 3 things I should do to make sure that I'm going to get my VA disability or VA benefits?
Strictly speaking, VA benefits, not looking at any of the job stuff and housing and all that stuff. You want to go back to your primary care physician. You want to discuss all the injuries or illnesses. You want to have a VSO, because like right now, 33 years of 4 years of polluted water on Camp Lejeune. Well, that VSO is going to know it. And guess what? If your dad was a veteran and you don't realize it, but you were born there, or you were born within 9 months of being there, your mother being there, do we need to look at having you screened for these diseases or illnesses that are related to that water? And say, we hear the rumors about the other posts and stuff that are being looked at and considered, the new diseases that are going to be added to Agent Orange, things like that. So that VSO may have, other questions that you have no idea are out there. And the guys on active duty, they're not going to say, oh, was your dad a Marine? Was he on Camp Lejeune between 53 and 87?
Nope. They're not going to answer that. They're not going to even tell you that.
Well, gee, your mom worked on base. Oh, she lived on base. Oh, she was exposed to that water too. Has your mom had any of these problems? Do you have any of these problems? So that's where your VSO comes in. You got your active duty component, and they're going to do everything they can. Generally, they're going to do everything they can to make sure you're taken care of.
Right.
Yes. Especially if they know you have a VSO, because that VSO is going to say, okay, make sure they do a scan on you for this, or make sure they check you for that. Go back and get that physical therapy that you kept putting off because you were too busy in the field. Go find out, oh, well, your shoulder hurts. Why does your shoulder hurt? Is the rotator cuff? Do you have a slap tear? What's going on?
Right.
So that you can put those things on your VA claim.
And then get your disability.
Yeah. Right. I have a old injury to my shoulder. A small tear in my rotator cuff is now full of scar tissue. So I've had it reevaluated. But I also had a slap tear, and I didn't know. And that's the labrum tendon in your shoulder, and it's partially pulled away from the bone. But if they hadn't been doing the MRI to find the rotator cuff issue, I would have never known about slap tear.
Almost have to be your own advocate, but say, oh yeah, I was here. And then your VSO goes, oh, well, this happened on that base. So, you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And that's where your VSO comes in. So,
right. And they're going to tell you about the future things. Military service is often generational, or maybe your uncle was in and that's why you went in. Well, now your uncle is sick, or your uncle doesn't have anything related to service because he happened to serve, on stateside duty or something like that during Vietnam or whatever. Well, yeah, but now his wife is dead. His income just got cut in half.
Yeah.
Does he now qualify for the war veterans pension? It doesn't sound like much, but $35 if you shop right, can be a bag of groceries. Well, if that's all you get out of that pension that year, but then the next year, your expenses go up medically.
Right.
And of course, once you get onto the War Veterans Pension Program for the veteran, everything in the VA becomes free. Hearing aids, glasses, all the medication, all the doctors and appointments and things like that. There is no copay if you are a wartime pension
I did not
recipient.
know that. I did not know. See, I learned something every day. That's something I didn't even know about. And it's frustrating for me being out 21 years. We say, oh, you've been in 20, so you must know all about this. Well, when I got out, there wasn't all of this. There wasn't any of these organizations, these Facebook pages. There was none of this information. So I didn't know to go look for it because they told me like, yeah, no, you don't need that.
Yeah, the Pony Express was too slow.
Yeah. That's right, folks. I'm actually 82 years old.
Yeah, no, you are. But yeah, it's a different world out here now than when we were in.
Yeah.
I mean, I was until 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing. There was, I know the Reserve and National Guards now, quote, do transition when they come back from active duty. But if you haven't been active duty in 4 years and you just got back from the sandbox when you did your, quote, transition, VA can provide health care. If you're injured, they can provide compensation. But they don't talk to you about budget statements or your personal statement and how important it is.
Right.
And they sure don't tell you about the War Veterans pension that your uncle needs.
Right.
Or your uncle's widow needs.
Well, I'm so glad that you came on to Sisters in Service. This has been very informative. I hope who's ever listening got some good nuggets of information because Jane's got a lot of them. If you get a chance to be on Clubhouse, which is now open to Android, just saying, get on, especially if you're a veteran. They've got all kinds of veteran rooms. And no, I'm not getting paid by Clubhouse to say this, just FYI. But it opens your world. I've met people on Clubhouse I would have never met, this even without COVID. Okay. But that's where you can find Jane. Jane, if someone has a question about a benefit or something with the VA, where can they ask a question? Where can they get a hold of you to ask a question?
Oh, find me on LinkedIn. It's real easy. Jane Babcock, Veterans Benefits Educator, Volunteer. Get a hold of me. I will send you links to a lot of the VA Benefits 101 information. And then your personal questions you can ask me. If you don't have a VSO, there is a difference. There is VSO Claims agents, and then there's VSO representatives. First, check your state and county, because if they're state employed, they've got a boss going, hey, how many claims did you do last year? How many came back favorable,
right.
Stuff like that. So you got somebody looking over their shoulder. Most VSOs are very, very caregiving, and they love the challenge of getting the benefits. But if you don't have state or county ones, then you're going to want to hook up with like the VFW, the DAV, the Paralyzed Veterans of America. They go through the same training, the same testing, the same annual training. They have the same clearance requirements. So if a veteran comes into my office, sits down and says, hey, we submitted that claim 2 months ago, I can go in the computer and say, okay, well, it's been screened. It was sent out to schedule you some CMP exams. In fact, you should have a letter at home in the mail today. Mm-hmm. Scheduling your CMP exams.
Right.
I can see all that information in the computer.
That's awesome.
Without having to wait on 1-800 from hell VA telephone number.
I love that. And on that note, Jane, thank you so much for being on Sisters in Service. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot from you, listening to you in Clubhouse and just being on this podcast. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kat, for all you're doing for us. And you've added a lot. Listening to you on Clubhouse and stuff. Your love and your empathy for our veterans, our fellow veterans, is wonderful.
Well, thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was such a pleasure being a part of knowing more about you, but just knowing I'm sure we didn't even touch the surface. But we did get some general questions out of the way. For all of you out there, thank you so much for being a part of this. Please stay safe, take care of each other, and until next time.